do that. So hello and welcome to our mini webinar on creating Nearpod using their already made Nearpod library, creating and editing within their library. You guys can keep your cameras off. That's fine. I'm going to be hopping over to Nearpod anyway. I won't be able to see your faces. If you have questions, you can either unmute your mic or drop it in the chat, and I'll bop between and kind of peek at those to kind of see if any questions are coming in. So I'm going to kind of toggle between the two places. In the chat, just so I kind of like register your attendance, even though I see that there's 4 of you here and I can kind of do that. If you could just drop in a hello in the chat, it helps me with attendance so I can make sure you guys get credit afterwards. So just drop a quick hello and we'll be good there. I do have the Google Meet extension for taking attendance, but sometimes it's glitchy and I want to make sure that I've got it all in here. So let's see if it's working now. I don't know. Maybe it is. Okay. So again, if you could just drop a hello, perfect. Awesome. Yeah, I'm very fortunate. You know, my kids are teens and I couldn't imagine doing what you guys are doing with little ones at home. I used to run a daycare out of my house when my kids were little and they needed me 24/7. I couldn't imagine what you guys are balancing. So totally understand it. My teens, other than every once in a while asking for food or asking if I want a Dunkin' run, I don't hear much from them throughout the day. All right, so let's talk about Nearpod. So I'm going to share my screen, and that way we can do this. Oh, I didn't want that window for some reason. All right, hang on. Okay. Let's see if I present now. Window, there it is. Okay. Hit share. Now I'm just sharing my Nearpod window so that way I can still kind of bop into Google Meet and see if anyone else is looking to come in or you know, has a question in the chat. So when you first log into Nearpod, it always takes you directly to your library. So this is where you're going to see any of your lessons that you've been working on, anything that you've saved from the lesson library is going to show up here. So as I go through, you're just going to see my different ones that I've used. If I scroll up to the top, they do have a folder system. I am horrible at using the folder system, but you certainly can save all of your lessons within the folder. When I'm searching through, because I have, you know, hundreds of lessons, I'll just use the search engine at the top and kind of think about what I called it to find it that way. You can also sort it by lesson title, author, your size, or recent. That way it's whatever you've done most recently is going to pop to the top. So I did one recently on coding. So obviously that's going to be on top. My favorite EdTech tools, because that's one I did last week, is going to show up on top. When we want to create a brand new lesson, even before we start in the library, you always have the option right here in your lesson library to create a lesson right in Nearpod or a lesson in Google Slides. You can do either of those. I prefer to do it all in Nearpod. I actually tend to pull in my backgrounds from different places like Buncee or from Google Slides or Adobe Spark, one of those, maybe for the backgrounds. But I tend to build right in Nearpod. I've just been doing that for so many years. It's more comfortable for me. When you're using one that's already in the lesson library, better to stay within Nearpod, but you certainly can take your Google Slides and pull them in. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So your lesson library that to be able to search is in the Nearpod lesson library. So I'm popping over to that. So can you guys drop in the chat, have you ever used a lesson from the lesson library? So I kind of know where we are as far as comfort level. Okay, yep, we got some yeses, some nos. Wonderful. Okay, so some of you have, some of you haven't. That's okay. I'm going to show you from both perspectives here. So when I go into the lesson library, these are all of the Nearpod lessons. Because I'm on the district one, and all of you should be as well. If you're not, contact Nearpod at nearpod.com/coronavirus, and you have access to all 7,500 plus lessons for totally free. And that's something that they've only just added since we've been home for the past 5 weeks. So usually there's a cost involved with each of these lessons. What's nice about these lessons is that they're pretty tried and true. They are all created from different vendors and different companies. They used to allow educators to add their own as well, but they've kind of narrowed that down to be more focused with some of the top vendors or top publishers around the world. So when you're on here, you'll notice that you have this top banner that changes often. Right now, everything's based on Earth Day, which is on Wednesday, and then also any other current events that are happening, and then a ton of at-home learning. But this changes every week. So it always gives you some different ideas on how to use or what to use in Nearpod. Down the left-hand side, just so we understand the platform, you can narrow it down by your state standard. So we can narrow this down to New York if we want by just clicking on New York, and it will do that for you. And it will take out some of the lessons and kind of narrow that focus. I like to leave it totally open. That's up to you, which way you'd like to do that. So you can do that any way you'd like. Now, you also can narrow it by subject, by grade level, and resource type. They give you that down the sidebar, but I like to put that, that bar kind of off to the side here. And you'll notice at the bottom here, I have featured, Nearpod VR, by publisher, by Nearpod, premium packages, and holiday and events. So I have all these categories that are already made for me. I tend to start here. So by Nearpod means it's going to give you different groupings based on collections that they've made. So think of it, a library, you might say, all right, I want to look at biographies or nonfiction. Here they're going to have fine arts, current events, hands-on learning, learning strategies, all these different kinds of categories. They're going to have these groupings for you. In the publisher section, it's going to show you all the other publishers that they have combined with. To get you, or to help you out with different lesson ideas. So they're pretty robust. So the Time to Climb ones are Nearpod ones, but they're going to have Time to Climb based on content. You can see that they have Breaking the Barrier, education.com. Some of my favorites are Newsella. They have ReadWorks in here, right down here. They have ReadWorks. Sway is a Microsoft one, but they have some great lessons in here. Common Sense Education, so all your digital citizenship. Your Big Word Club for vocabulary. So even if you don't have prescription or subscriptions, that my brain today. So even if you don't have a subscription with one of these, you can use a lot of their lessons built in. For example, in Newsella is normally a very expensive platform. Right now, everything's all free on it anyway, but typically you'd have to pay for Newsella and you have to pay for Nearpod. Right now, they have some that are totally free within here, or you can at least use some of the features. And then if you have Newsella free, you can add those on as well. Some of them are completely free within here. So normally Lifelike is a paid one, but they give you these little mini videos that are really interactive and exciting for kids right here free if you pay for the Nearpod platform. So you can always pull any of these as you're going through. So I like to narrow it down by publisher. Nearpod VR is going to be your virtual reality ones. You can certainly create your own, which I'm going to show you how to do. The premium packages are also free for you right now, but typically your school would have to purchase these. So when I worked in Schuylerville, we paid for the digital citizenship one. So that one was one that our students our teachers had access to give to our students. And what it does is it packages all of the Code Monkey and all the Common Sense education lessons that are on digital citizenship, but it adds interactives around it so that it's a little bit more creative for your students. Okay, so that's how you kind of go through and look for different ideas for what you're doing. So go ahead and pick one if you're following along and want to try it with me. If you're just watching, I'm just going to pick one too. So I'm going to grab, right now they have this whole featured distance learning pack. That seems to make sense to me right now that maybe this is something that we want to take a look at. So as I go through this one, I can see that there's different ones for matching pairs, for virtual reality, some math ones. There's all sorts of different ones that are in there that are available for me to use. So I'm going to, I don't know that I want to do a survey. I'm actually going to back out of here. For as much as these look really good, I'm going to hit this X and go back out. And let's pull something that maybe is a little bit more basic. So let's see, how about a vocabulary one? So I'm going to take this Big World Club one because these are fun. So I clicked on it. When I open it, it's going to open up all the different ones. So these are their words of the day. So wiggle sounds like fun. Let's take that one. And when you open up it, and all I did was click on it, you have preview mode. So you can go through and see, is this a lesson I'm interested in? Looks kind of cute, kind of fun. Big word of the day is wiggle. It tells you how to sound it out. And then it goes through a video. If I like this one and it seems like it's really good and I'm ready to kind of do things with it, I'm going to click add to my library. And what that does is it puts it into that library that I showed you at the beginning. So I'm going to click on that and it's going to open it up again. So right from here, if I think the lesson is perfect, all I have to do is assign it either as a live or student-paced lesson. But we're here to edit, right? So we're going to grab the edit right here. And it's always going to give you this pop-up. Now it's saying, do you want to keep the original and then duplicate the lesson? Or do you want to just write over this one? So here's the big question people always ask. If I edit this lesson, will I lose it? What they're saying is, in your own personal library, do you want to keep the original and the one you're going to edit, or do you want to just edit this lesson? But the lessons are still going to stay perfectly fine in the Nearpod library. You're not going to be editing the live one for everybody. So up to you if you want to keep the original or not. I'm just going to click Edit Lesson. Once you do that, it's going to open up the editing platform. So I'm going to ask another quick question to throw in the chat here. How many of you have ever made a lesson in Nearpod? So say yes if you've made a lesson and no if you haven't. So Leanne, for the free lesson access, you have to go to nearpod.com/coronavirus and go to that link, and then you fill out a form, and then within 24 hours, they'll give you access to the platform. It might be a little bit longer. I don't know how backed up they are. I don't work for Nearpod, so I'm not sure on that, but I know that they'll give you access. So some of you have got a couple yeses, but mostly nos. Okay. So when I'm in the platform here, I'm in the edit. So I can see each of my slides, kind of like if you're used to Google Slides, you always see all of your slides down the left. Here I'm seeing all the slides tiled. Now I can choose to move them around, so I can click and drag and change the order just by touching and clicking. I could say, you know what, maybe I don't want this teacher background one, and I just hit delete, and it's going to take that one out. All right, it's going to say, are you sure? I'm going to say no for now, but you can totally do that. If I had, if I wanted to combine this with another one, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment, I can open another Nearpod, grab the slides I want, and pull them into here by doing the copy and paste. Any of the slides I can convert to a draw it. So let's say I like this one that says wiggle. I can immediately say convert to draw it, and then it's going to say, do you want to keep this original and add a draw it, or do you want to make this one a draw it slide? So I want to keep a copy of the original slide, so I'm going to click yes. And what it's going to do is create a new slide right next to the one that I just did. So I've got the wiggle, and then when I double click on the draw it, it's going to open up. Now I can give directions. You know, circle the vowels in this word. All right, or whatever you're going to have them do. And then the students are going to see that. They're going to circle those vowels, and then you've got whatever you're going to do with the lesson. Okay, so those are some of the things you have right when you first open it up. You still can always add a slide, which we're going to do. I showed you delete, the copy and paste. I'm going to show you a little bit more at the end here. And then I showed you the convert to draw option. So let's say you're going through and you're like, I really want to change something. So let's say this one, the sounded out one. So it says wiggle, and then they kind of give you wiggle. But you know your students, and you know that you probably need to do something more than just give them this slide. Well, you can add audio to it. So I'm going to click on the audio. It's going to say, do you have a file, or do you want to record right within Nearpod? I'm going to record right within Nearpod. Once you click this button, it's going to start recording. Sound it out, wiggle, wiggle. All right, and now listen. Sound it out, wiggle, wiggle. All right, if I like it, I hit save, and that is going to save as an audio feature right on my slide. So I'm still using that lesson that was already done, but now I've added my own voice to it. Let's say within this slide, I wanted to add something else. I can change the layout of the slide by clicking the layout button. And let's say I'm going to move that over here, and I'm going to ask them to do something else with sound it out. All right, so I've got the sound it out written up here, and maybe I'm going to give them a job to do, you know, where I might put in some text or something like that. With your finger, trace the word on the screen, or whatever you want them to do. You know, I don't know what else you want them to do with that word to kind of play around with it. You can change that. And once I did this, now I have this plain background, right? So I'm going to click background, and I can grab something, you know, similar. I may not be able to find this exact one because this is white on white with question marks, but I can try. So I'm going to say white question mark wallpaper. And when I do that, I don't see anything totally similar, but maybe this one will work. I click save and it's going to go to the background. Kind of dark, right? So I'm going to grab right on the right-hand side here, this little drag, and I can go darker or I can go lighter and kind of change it up. If I don't like it, I hit the delete and that goes away and I can grab a different one. Maybe I'm just going to say white. And then I can grab a basic background or I can say white question mark and see if something else comes up. You go through and you kind of play around till you find the one that you like. And you may not find one. Sometimes I find a great one. Sometimes I bring in my own, anything along those lines I can try and see. I'm not liking any of these, so I might leave it blank. I might keep it just there, or I might just, maybe I want to add a color, so I want to add yellow. And then I can put a yellow background. And that might be enough that I'm happy with that. On this platform, when you're actually designing within Nearpod, you only get a couple choices of colors. It's black and white for the basic ones. If you change the theme, you get some other options. So now I have the red or the black and white, whatever I want it to be. I hit save and exit, and then it's going to save it the way I did. It's updating the theme because I changed the theme to all the slides. You can't change one theme on one and not have it affect any of the others. So while that's processing, you can still continue to edit and work on things. So let's say I want to add in some more interactive. So I'm going to hit this little plus, and I'm going to, maybe there's a really good Go Noodle video on wiggling. I have no idea if there is. Go Noodle, wiggle. Wiggle it, Go Noodle. How about that? All right, so I'm going to grab this, copy. And then I'm going to paste that in, hit save. And now that wiggle video that I chose is going to show up at the very end of my lesson. I can click and drag it anywhere I want. All right, so maybe I want to do that right at the beginning, even before I do the word or wherever it happens to be. I can drop that in. If I had a really long Nearpod presentation, if I don't want to just click the add slide here, I can always click in between. And then it'll let me do it right there. So add slide, add content, and then web contents right at the bottom. Maybe in here, I want to take them on a field trip. So I doubt there's something with wiggle, but let's type it in and see what happens for a field trip. So yeah, they don't really have anything that would be wiggle, but maybe I want to find, like a dance party. And then maybe I'll see something here. Looks like here's a bunch of people dancing, right? We've got, it's a flat picture, but you can see some people are standing around watching some dancers. You can choose that one. Or maybe the lights, whatever you happen to grab. So you can always grab something. If you don't like it, you don't have to have it. You just click done and it goes in. So you see that I'm adding different features right into my Nearpod as I'm going through. Now, what you can't do is change what's already there. So let's say you don't like this, or you found a typo, or you wanted your own icon. You can't really change their flat slides. And the other thing is, when they're flat slides like this, the immersive reader function doesn't work within it. So it's something that you have to think about when you're looking at these. So I'll often keep their original and then change the outline and then add in whatever I want around it. So that way I can add in some things that I want, whatever information I want to have for the students that can then be read. So if I put up here, let's learn a new word. I know that now when I put this into presentation mode, when I'm doing it live lesson or student paced, the students can have what it says down here read again up here, or I can add my own audio and do it that way. So before I go any further, any questions so far that you want to throw in the chat, or you want to unmute and ask? Are we doing good? We're doing good? All right, good. All right, these are super fast when you're doing them in a half an hour. So I'm like, well, am I giving too much? So, stop me at any point, ask a question, anything that you need. The file processing time, I have noticed recently, I think because so many more people are using it, has been a little bit slower. But you can still work while this is happening, or you can save and exit and come back to it. You don't have to sit and wait for that to process. So you see that I'm just adding in different features in here. So just going on with some of the features. So this one actually had, as it's changing the theme here, I have a draw it slide. I put in a field trip. It already had a video built in. It has a quiz. Let's go to the quiz. So this quiz says wiggle is a blank movement, all right? And you choose fast or slow as your option. This quiz, you can give a title. I would suggest you title your quiz names because it's easier for you to get that information if you have more than one quiz in the reports. So I'm going to call this one Wiggle Quiz. And then within here, you can add a reference. So you can add in an image. So maybe I want, I don't know if I'm going to find something with wiggle again. Oh, the wiggles. There you go. So let's grab the wiggles. My daughter's favorite when she was a kid. So we'll put wiggles in there. Oh, that one doesn't like. Let's try a different one. Sometimes that happens. Wiggle. So you just grab a different one. Oh, let's do this one. That's one of the dog books. There we go. Okay, so we got wiggle in there. You can add a timer, so you can add how long you want them to spend on it. So maybe you want 3 minutes on this quiz. It's only one question quiz. You can also add another question. So you'll see you can add another answer if you want here, or you can add another question. Wiggle has 2 vowels, or whatever you're going to do. And you can say true or false. You can add as many options as you want. And then you can go along with that, but you can edit that quiz. When you're done, you hit save. It's going to bring you back into the platform. So let's see. I added in the Go Noodle. We added in a Draw It slide. We have another Draw It slide. Let's take a look and see the one that they have here. So they put in this cool background. I love it when they have these basic backgrounds. I make these all the time in different websites. Like I said, I use Bunsy a lot, Adobe Spark, Canva, just to make this quick little border. You can see you can zoom in and out if you wanted to change the way it looked. And then up at the top left in that down arrow, here's the directions. It says type the word you've just learned. Have fun using color and drawings in the space provided. Great directions, but maybe you want to add something more. You can always put that in there. You can also add a reference. So maybe you want to add in audio. Here you have to save the file first and then put it in so you can have you reading those directions. You can also use the audio recorder, which again, if I hit allow, I'm going to record. There we go. Try to write the word you've just learned. Have fun using colors and drawing in the space provided. Record. There we go. Try to write the word you've just learned. Have fun using colors and drawing in the space provided. All right. If you want to edit out that beginning because I was talking, you can crop it in a little bit. There we go. Try to write even more. Here we go. The word you've just learned. Have fun. A little bit more out. So you can see how you can do that. Once you're happy with it, you hit save. Off you go. Now the students have the directions read to them. I'm going to hit save and go out. I thought I heard a ding, so I'm just going to see if there were questions. Oh, there were. Good. Okay. How do you do that? Make a background. How do you create a quiz? Great questions. All right. So backgrounds, you have several options. With Google Draw It, or with Draw It, I should say it that way. So I'm going to go into Draw It first, and we'll do that one. So I'm going to grab a Draw It. This is the basic without doing anything. Right here, it says upload background image. When I click on that, I can go to anywhere that I've saved an image, or I can use a Google one. I don't find I have a lot of luck finding Google backgrounds that are exactly what I'm looking for. I like to create my own. So what I'll do is I'll upload them. So I have created a bunch. So here's one, totally doesn't relate to Wiggle, but we'll just go with it. I created this in Bunsy. So all I did was grab some information here, and then I have the directions here, which I don't need to have the directions here. I can type them in up at the top. And then what the students would use is use the text box feature or the draw feature, and they would write on it. You can do other ones too. So if I go to the upload, here's a more basic one that maybe would work for you. And I just create these templates, like I said, in Bunsy. That's my favorite. So I use that one a lot, just to give them a frame of reference. You don't have to put anything in. You can leave it blank, and then the students can have just a white page to do whatever you'd like to have on it. You can upload a worksheet. I did one of those earlier today too, because I was showing someone how. Let me see if I still have that. Yeah. So she wanted to upload this one worksheet. So we brought this in. I suggested cropping it a little bit, make it a little bit bigger, but you certainly could just bring this in. The kids have all of this space around it to do the work and then write their work within the box. So you can pull anything in that you'd like as your background. anything from your drive, anything from your screen, so or from your computer. So whatever you have, you can use. Here's another example of one that I've created recently that you can put in. And this one gives them a space for text boxes. They would just type within the box. They actually create that text box. So I give them the space that I want them to put it in, but they actually hit the tap in the box, and then they can type within it. So you can do it any way you'd like that way. The other question was how to create a quiz, right? Yeah. So you can upload. Canva is one of the ones you can use. I don't use that one as much because it's paid. Buncie's paid too, but it's free right now. I think Canva might be as well. But Buncee allows you to create up to 3 for free on their regular platform. So as soon as you download it, you keep it, and then you can delete it out and make another one. If you go with their paid version, which right now you can get for free, you can make as many as you'd like. So creating a quiz in our last 4 minutes here, let me show you that. You click on Add Activity. You click on Quiz, and then you can either copy and paste from your Google Doc if you already have it there, or you just type in the question, what is the definition of wiggle? And then you put in your answers here. You can put in your reference. You can add a timer. You can duplicate the question, give the question an answer, whatever you'd like to do right in there. All right, I'm going to hit cancel because you have to put answers in for it to save it. Any quiz can be converted to a time to climb, which is the game. Any time to climb cannot be converted to a quiz, so I suggest make it as a quiz and then convert it over. That way, if you want to play the game as your review, do that, and then you also have the quiz already made. And then if you have something like this where it's a slideshow, you can add your own slides within it, or you can delete out some of the slides by hitting the add or delete buttons at the top. So we are down to our last 3 minutes. Any other questions you have on Nearpod, designing, creating, editing, this that I can show you before we run out of time? So I'm going to hit save and exit just to kind of show you as you type in any questions. Right here now, once I save and exit, it saves it right in my library. See, I'm in my library. And right from here, I can click on live lesson and send it off to students. You don't have to have an individual copy per student because every student signs in on their own device, and it saves right in your reports for you. Or I can decide, if I exit out of this, I can decide to do it student paste by the same token. Just click on the student paste, and you can now give them the code. They also have a new dashboard. This just opened yesterday, day before, where you once you put it into student paste, you can actually view progress to see which students have completed it and that sort of thing. So it gives you an extra little bit with it. If you need to change how long they have to do it, you click the calendar and you choose the date up to a year out, and then you hit apply, and it will give them that many days to complete the assignment before it shuts down that code on them. Any other questions? If you're looking for a more in-depth where we really walk through what is Nearpod and how it all works, I have a couple on-demand videos that are on my S'more newsletter that I send out every day. If you don't get a copy of that, just email me and I will add you. But I do send a copy every day. It will have links to all the new webinars that are coming, links to all the webinars that have happened that you can just watch on demand, and all the links to sign up for any future webinars that are coming up. All right, have a great rest of your day. Happy Monday. And I hope to see you maybe tomorrow with the next one.
Thank you.
Sure, have a good one.
Bye.